Hello and welcome back to my channel, to all of my subscribers, and to anyone visiting the channel, welcome. I had an issue with the audio in my first upload of this game, so I was re-recording it just to get the audio correct. Hopefully it's working now. So as you can see by the title, I have branched into two color commanders and have started with Wydwen, the Biting Gale. And let me pop up the commanders. So let's see, and my opponent is playing Athreos, God of Passage in this game. So it's usually a creature-centric build, and I'm not a huge fan of Athreos simply because he doesn't provide any pressure on his own. Athreos is really good when he's good, but when he's bad, he doesn't provide any benefit. If I get you into a top deck war, Athreos isn't going to get you out of it. It's not going to create creatures to pressure me. And that's really what I dislike about some of these gods. There's some exceptions like Thassa. While she doesn't provide pressure, she provides filtering. But something like Athreos doesn't provide either, and I can just pay the 3 life until I'm at death's door, and not let you get any value out of it other than lightning bolting me when a creature dies, which I don't mind. But knowing that it's a creature heavy build, I have this wonderful hand. I have a little bit of ramp to go for a turn 3 Wydwen, or I have Ashiok Nightmare Weaver with Vapor Snag backup on turn 3. So this is definitely a keepable hand, and I'm going to keep it, and my opponent is keeping their 7 as well. So I'm just going to leave it on play. I've been testing this out a little bit, noticing a few other streamers do this, and just talk as I go. I lead on River of Tears, because I know I'll have blue on his turn. He goes with Dark Ritual into Sign and Blood, my opponent Wizard of 103, and Wayfarer's Bauble, so he's going to get some ramp on, not going to have any mana trouble this game. I pick up a Dystopia, not very good yet, but it will be against the white commander, and I'm just going to play the Sky Diamond here, because I want to get my ramp going as quickly as possible, and I know that he's ramping this turn as well. So he plays Plains and cracks the Bauble for Plains. I pick up Fabricate, so that's going to be useful. Long term, I think this is going to be getting Videlkin Shackles at this point. I know he's going to be a creature build. Videlkin Shackles is usually very good, but I need to increase my island count before I do that. I have 1 more in my hand currently. Ideally, I'd like 2 more islands before I commit this to getting Shackles. And I decided to go with Ashiok here. It's such an efficient threat. He has no pressure on the board yet because he's been spending his time ramping and drawing cards, but he has nothing to attack Ashiok, and Ashiok goes up by 2 a turn, which is very good. So I'm going to be able to use Ashiok to start pressuring his deck, and he needs to find an answer to this very, very quickly before I can -10 it and Mind Twist his hand away. I had Bath to Exile and 2 lands, so those lands might be relevant if he was hoping to draw them. If not, well, at least I'm helping him out a little bit. But I got rid of a little bit removal, so that's fine. And they untap and go with Utter End on Ashiok, just to signify how good pressure Ashiok is against a creature-centric build like Athreos. I'm going to untap, pick up Mouth of Ronom, which is pretty good with my snow lands. I'm going to go with the Water Grave untapped here, and I'm choosing that because I want to be able to deploy Wydwen this turn and use Vapor Snag if I need to. So I'm representing all of that. My opponent goes with Serra Ascendant and Athreos, God of Passage. So I've made a bit of a blunder here, and I don't Vapor Snag. I know that I'll have 6 mana next turn. I know that I want to deploy Dystopia after seeing both of these resolve because I'll be able to get rid of 1. I should Vapor Snag Serra Ascendant because there's no doubt at this point that Athreos is going to be the one sacrificed to Dystopia because he can replay it. Serra Ascendant is an amazingly good clock. If I had, you'll see why it would have been good to use Vapor Snag this turn instead of holding it. So I deploy Wydwen here and do nothing. Nothing else. And I should have played Vapor Snag because I know I'm going to have 1 3-drop. I have another 3-drop in my hand that I could have played. And I pick up another 3-drop. So if I had played Vapor Snag, I could resolve Dystopia. Serra Ascendant would be in hand. He sacrifices Athreos on upkeep to Dystopia. And I have Jace Beleren coming down, who drew me a card this turn, would have drawn me a card this turn and the following turn. So a little bit of a misplay, but I don't end up getting punished for it, thankfully. And this way, I guess I get to leave up. You see me fighting with my mana for a little bit because I needed the black off Rain of Tears. River of Tears, not Rain of Tears. So this turn, it actually lets me leave up the Wydwen bounce just to let her dodge, or block dodge if somehow it doesn't go well for me. So he's going to Dystopia away Athreos. and mortify the dystopia, which is understandable. This is otherwise just an abyss for him that he can't play anything into, and it just gives me such a tempo value with Wydwen. And Saracen is going to come in, and I'm going to Vapor Snag in response. Just I don't want him to gain 6 life. Even though I win through commander damage with this build, I wanted to play tempo, even though Saracen is about to come back down. And I pick up Go for the Throat off the top like a champ. I'm going to take Saracen off the table immediately using my Water Grave because River doesn't produce black if I don't play land. And I don't want to pay life if I don't have to. And I believe, so I get in with Wydwen, and I believe I use Jace this turn and Jace down to draw a card. Here we go. And Jace, target myself, draw a card, pick up Rewind. So that's going to be useful. Rewind is a very good counterspell in a Wydwen deck. My opponent's going to banish her Priest, Wydwen away. Unfortunately, I don't have the 2 mana up to help Wydwen dodge removal to bounce her back to my hand, but her costing 6 is okay. I have 6 mana. And my opponent, Wizard 103, plays Hippie, which, when it hits me, I get randomly hit by half of a Hymn to Torarch. So, very good creature. I've seen it in a lot of black builds. I'm going to draw a card, pick up Memory Lapse, and I'm just going to ship the turn back with the plan that if he attacks both at me, I Flash and Wydwen, block Hippie, kill that, take 2 from Priest. If he sends both at Jace, I can do nothing, let Jace die, and Flash and Wydwen on end step. If he casts in main 1, like he appears to do, I can rewind and have Wydwen cast afterwards. If he doesn't do anything, sends 1 at Jace, banish a Priest at Jace, and Hippie at me to get a card out of my hand, Flash Wydwen, block Hippie, and let Jace die, because I get Hippie off the table at that point. So those are my lines at this point. So my opponent's going to go with Attrition, and while it can't hit Wydwen because this is non-black creature, and I'm a very creature-light deck, I really don't want him to have a sacrifice outlay, because I'm still at this point thinking that I might go for Vedalken Shackles, and him allowing him to have a sacrifice outlet isn't really in the position that I want to be if I'm planning to use Shackles as my ultimate victory condition to keep flyers out of Wydwen's way. So I'm going to rewind that, mostly because it's a free counterspell. I get to tap 3 of his mana effectively, and I can still deploy Wydwen to block Hippie. And because he's devoted mana, alright, Vampiric Tutor. Because he's devoted mana, I can Flash Wydwen and block Hippie or Banisher Priest if he goes at Jace. Now, he Vampiric Tutors, put something on top of his library, and I really, really don't like playing this source. It's an instant for a reason. Play it at instant speed. I can understand he doesn't want to expose it to counter magic, and I didn't play Memory Lapse because I wanted to use Wydwen to kill the Hippie if he attacks. So this is a bad play, doing it on his own turn, because it lets me set up this Amnesia. And you'll see why in a sec. Because now that whatever he tutored for is on top of his deck. So I'm going to jump ahead. Now I can use Jace and tick up on... So I'm going to deploy Wydwen, sorry. Because he didn't do anything anyway. So deploy Wydwen. Untap. Use Jace and tick up. I pick up Blighted Cataract. And you'll see I tapped River of Tears for blue and then played Blighted Cataract. If I'd done it in the opposite order, River of Tears makes black, and there's no undo on playing a land. So I got to leave up Water Grave, so I have Island / Swamp without paying life up. I go to Amnesia him because I know he didn't Vampiric Tutor for a land at this point, because this will get whatever it is out of his hand, because Jace put it into his hand. And he goes with Swords to Plowshares on Wydwen. Of course, I don't have Protection mana again. That's okay, though. I don't think he tutored for Swords to Plowshares. Tutoring for an answer for a commander that just keeps coming back very efficiently doesn't seem like a good line for him. So I'm expecting whatever the other card is in his hand is what he tutored for. Although it's plausible that this was a decision because I played Wydwen on his end step, and if this was on top of his deck, that would be if this was in his hand already, he would have used it on Wydwen before I untapped. So he might have chosen this as his tutor target. So I Amnesia away Sublight Archangel, which is very happy to get rid of. I don't mind paying 6 mana for that. And I know I'm going to take Hippie hit here and lose something out of my hand, so I'm going to plan on Mystical Tutoring in response. And I expect Banisher Priest to tick down Jace a little bit, just so I can't -1/-1 and draw 2 more cards without him drawing. And Wizard's going to tap some more mana, and I think he's redeploying Athreos here. Yeah. So redeploy Athreos and ship in, and like I said, Hippie hits me, that hits Jace. I'm going to Mystical for an answer at this point. Let me see if it'll work. Not freeze on me. It was working earlier. So I'm going to Mystical Tutor, and there's my deck. You can go back and pause the video if you want. A Mystical Tutor for Toxic Deluge, and I'm just accepting it. I'm going to dome myself for 8 at this point because -2 for Deluge, 3 to keep Hippie in the grave, 3 to hit Priest in the grave, keep Priest in the grave. And because I haven't drawn any islands, I've abandoned this plan of Fabricate. It didn't get hit by the Hippie. I lost my memory lapse to its effect. So that's okay. I've been drawing cards off Jace, so this isn't really card disadvantage for me yet. So I'm going to use Fabricate to get my Soul Ring at this point. I pick up the Deluge, and I'm going to tap and untap some mana. I decided to get the Soul Ring because I know Wydwen's going to cost more mana, so I want to get more mana into play at this point. I'm going to have his board clear. Jace is going to start drawing me cards. I just want to be ahead of him in mana at this point because, as I said in the outset of the game, Athreos does not provide pressure. Of course, I Jace +2 and pick up Notion Thief, which, if you can understand this interaction, it's going to be insane. So he's going to Sin Collector me. Pretty good top deck. And Liliana's Reaver. So this guy just drew Runner. Normally Sin Collector is very good against me, but I got one of my best creatures in this situation. I'm going to be able to deploy Notion Thief and Jace up to 5 and draw 2 cards myself because it prevents him from drawing cards other than the card he would draw during his draw step. Also, because I got Solving this turn and got an untapped land, I'm going to be able to deploy Notion Thief with Mouth of Ronan backup to keep one of these creatures off the table. So you see me deploy, and you're going to see... So I pick up Pithing Needle and Cyclonic Rift, and I'm not going to play either of them here, because my plan is 1, 2, 3, 4, Snow, use Mouth of Ronan to get this Reaver off the table before it starts building an army and making me discard cards. Because I feel like that's how I'm going to lose this game at this point, if Liliana's Reaver connects once or twice, especially on me. So both of them come in at... Reaver comes at me, Sin Collector and at Jace. You see me tap and untap a little bit. It seemed that when I clicked to activate Mouth of Ronan's ability, and then clicked Snow Island, it wasn't registering as Snow mana, so I have to do that first, then activate Ronan, and then pay the generic mana. I can take that off the table, take the 3 to my face, let Sin Collector hit Jace, because honestly, Jace down to 3, then back up. Sin Collector's not going to pressure him at all. And then pick up 2 cards off the Notion Thief, deploy Cold Steel Heart, and my opponent scoops the game. And I think this was definitely writing on the wall at this point. Athreos, like I said, does not provide pressure. He's 3 devotion away from being able to swing with Athreos, and at this point I have Cyclonic Rift to bounce something in response if he somehow turns Athreos on. Pithing Needle will come down eventually, naming something or other, but Cold Steel Heart here, naming, let me see, I have black in my hand, so I was going to name blue, and deploy Temple of Deceit. This turn, I cast Wydwen into play, no protection, because she costs 8 at this point, I believe. The following turn, I have protection on Wydwen, and because I played Cold Steel Heart and Temple of Deceit the previous turn, the following turn I would have Snow-Covered Swamp, so that means I would have Wydwen protection plus either Cyclonic Rift or Blighted Cataract. And that just puts the game away so quickly. Notion Thief gets to start attacking this turn. So the writing was definitely on the wall. I don't think there's very many things that get him out of this, short of something like a Chroma's Vengeance before I can draw a counterspell, which he has probably 1 turn to top deck a Chroma's Vengeance, and he has just enough mana to cast it. So I think this was a great game, and it's a very good premier game for my Wydwen deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. If you want to see more Wydwen or have suggestions for other good 2-color commanders, preferably in blue or green, so that way at least part of my collection carries over. I'm going to build green-black soon. I have most of the cards that I would need for my Maren of Clandel Toth deck that I own in paper. And I think it'd be fun, and you guys would definitely enjoy seeing the stacks build of that. It's definitely the longest game that I would build here on MTGO. Wydwen is definitely tempo control, whereas Vendilion Click is pure tempo, and I care more about just getting to 21. Wydwen can play the long game much better than Vendilion Click can. Like I said, hope you guys enjoy. Please subscribe, like the videos, and comment down below with any feedback you have for me. Bye now.